along with our single audit act, but I don't know for certain.
Well, as this evolves, we get downstream a little bit when it becomes a little more visible. Perhaps you could get back to us with
Yep.
recommendations so that early on at least to be assured we're covering
Yep.
bases and not having to jump through
Backfill
hurdles
things,
at the
yeah.
end of the next fiscal year.
Well, I mean, we are trying to keep up with it, but sometimes things are getting coming out to you like that. I still hadn't seen that until I went to a town. The stimulus grant requirement. I was actually out of school, and somebody gave it to me. So it's a tough year everywhere. And the more reliance you had on state aid, it's the worse off you are.
Board members, any questions?
Is there anything else, and we didn't see it appear as though, is there anything that we should be cautious of in relation to Moody's and bond rating? I mean, I think, as you said, we've been pretty conservative as far as, socking whatever little money we have away.
They love consistency.
Forming this debt stabilization fund, I think is helpful.
That's really good. I mean, they love consistency, and they like plans. So if you had a plan to use some of your reserves because you had to, but a plan to build them back up, they don't mind that. But they like consistency. They like to know that the government's going to stay on they're going to have a reserve at a certain level.
Which brings me to my next question in relation to a year or two down the road, where again we've been reluctant, I think wisely reluctant to pull on our stabilization fund in order to balance the budget.
Yeah.
How long we can sustain that is questionable. So in conjunction with doing that, we have to start spending that down. What do we do in way of formulating a plan to make sure that it gets reflected here and adequately reflected the bond rate?
You know what? A long time ago, I was a city auditor, and we had federal revenue sharing, and the federal revenue sharing went away. But we had a pot of money of $1.2 million. So what we ended up doing is using like $600 the first year, $300 the next year, $200 the next year, and $100 the next year. So you weaned yourself off the use of it. And if I was going to use stabilization money, I wouldn't just say, here's $1 million, boom, we're going to use it for the current year. I would use it in the manner that you're weaning yourself off of it with the final year, actually putting it back into the budget so that you're growing it back up again. So I just think that if you throw one big amount at it, it may help you 1 year.
We've looked at the stabilization fund as your piggyback, a savings account that you never touch.
Yeah.
So it's almost like
Or it's there for, which is counter to what you're saying, is there for one unforeseen disaster,
Well, I mean, if that's something, if it's a disaster, you don't really have a choice unless you can bond for it, if that's what you choose to do. But, I mean, I think originally the stabilization fund was really to stabilize the tax rate, and that you could use it to keep the tax rate at a certain level, and that's what it was. And it kind of became a capital fund instead, instead of what it was original intent was. And I'm not saying that you should use it right now, and I'm not saying that you should dump it, but if you're looking for a plan on how to use it, that's how I think it should be used, as a declining amount every year, and then so that you wean yourself off it and you start growing it back up again.
Again, the years we know it's there, but there's never an intended use for it. We don't want to use it at some point. And I think we're getting to that point.
Right.
Dangerously close to the point where we have to do something in order to stabilize our level services that we're doing.
Right. Well,
But I don't want to do it to jeopardize, our bond rate.
Right.
Increase our costs as far as borrowing.
Right,
because our borrowing's going to increase too as we go forward too. So it's
do you have any big projects coming up right now?
not that we could get through the general populace and the public.
The windows.
Yeah.
You mentioned the windows.
And then as far as the, again, you still mentioned the contingent liability.
Yep.
The Comcast thing. And what's this prior year, the E on page 38? Something that $17,000 that wasn't reflected.
Oh, when they, recorded the fixed assets, I think, which was, there was some assets that was, that when Joe sent the list out to the departments, he has a fixed asset list, and he can filter it by department. When he sent it out, somebody went to the, somebody said, hey, there's some assets on here that weren't reflected in the, that weren't on the list. We have some assets that weren't on the list. The list has been sent out for a bunch of years, and so, it was something that got missed in the previous year by the department. And, you had like, when the asset list was originally done, you hired a firm, and they came in and went through all the different departments and established a fixed asset list, and it's kind of a work in process to try to keep it up. And so that's what that is. That's the assets less their depreciation.
Steve, you could probably recall on occasion in the Hillview, we'd get a document saying, you know, check out what these assets are. I think the whole process, without actually, on some regular basis, getting expertise to value the assets.
Well, it's foreign to mass municipals, because fixed assets never were recorded until about 3 or 4 years ago. They didn't record fixed assets, so there was no fixed assets, no plan, no depreciation showed up on the financial statements. So it's a work in process trying to get people to update their fixed assets and to really look at their.
Most of the assets in municipality are well beyond the depreciated life.
That's, yeah, up here.
Well, but
that's
you
true.
take Ipswich River Park or the golf course, it's an asset that's appreciating in value, not depreciating.
Yeah, but that's being carried at cost, less depreciation. Well, the land doesn't
Yeah.
depreciate. So.
Any other questions?
I wish I could have come in with a pocket full of money for you and told
You
you
didn't?
to tell you that you don't need any more state aid, but
You could help us find a way of getting more state. That'd be nice.
thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing,
Thank you.
just
Oh,
in
sure.
relation to Bob's comment in relation to, the increase in uncollected real estate
Yep.
taxes. Is there anything else that we should be doing as far as reflecting
Well,
that? And
I-
we're anticipating going forward that we should be.
I think she does twice a year. She does her, which is what the law allows. Is you can, when the first tax bill come out after they haven't been collected for a month, then you add them to the ones that are already in tax title. They're called subsequent. So you put those into tax title, and then at the end of the year, the people haven't paid, then those go into tax. And then I think she's already doing that. So probably the 2008 are already in tax title. So yeah.
Yeah, we actually got.
Yeah.
we
So, I
sped
mean,
that
I think
process up.
you're like right with the law, I mean, with what the law allows. I don't think there's a heck of a lot, you know, more. Some people, there is a statute, a provision that allows you to sell your tax titles if you need an influx of cash, but, you know, for a percentage basis, so. You know, if it's in a strange way, if it's not a cash flow issue, it's the interest rate that you earn on tax liens when you collect it is pretty good. So if somebody does pay you, when they finally do pay you off, they're paying you a substantially increased amount, because I think it's 16% interest rate.
So we need more tax.
So in a strange way, as long as it rotates.
Therefore, we have to-
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
We should be discouraging people.
Mr.
from paying
Prisco.
taxes,
Fiscal Advisory Committee. I think you saw one of your recommendations in action here this evening.
Yes, it's amazing. Sort of one of the reasons why I wanted to come in and visit with you all tonight. It's good to see you all. Jeff, it's great to see you sitting there.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while since we've come in and addressed the board, you know, or vice versa. You addressed us, or we've had any interaction at all. And, Bob, I appreciate, Mr. Messeri and I had an opportunity to meet about 2 weeks ago, just about, and, I presented to him some of my concerns and give him a little status about the FAC and where we're at. I'll tell you, it's been a little bit challenging for us ever since, I'll go all the way back to the split tax rate. Since we came in here and we presented, we've done a lot of work. We have well over 50 ideas. You go to our website, which you all have access to, you can see the amount of reports that we've submitted. We've tried to come in here, and I know you've had busy calendars, lots of items going on, especially with the current budget situation, and it's challenging to interact with us, but there's been a sense since we've done that split tax rate presentation here, the motivation's been gone. I haven't been able to have a quorum in my last 3 meetings. A quorum in my last 3 meetings. Sean has made it to everyone in Al, and there's 1 or 2 others that show up, but I had a 13-member committee, 12 active members, 12 voting members, and I'm currently down to 8 active members and 8 voting members. I'm currently trying to do some recruiting to increase the numbers back up again, but before I went off to make some commitments to other people to get them to join, I thought it would be a good idea for us to have a discussion, because I'm not so sure anymore if I even believe in the fact anymore. I don't have a lot of confidence that you have any confidence in us. I'm not sure if we've done any good. There really hasn't been a very good exchange between the two. When we started out, we really believed in the charter. We still believe in the charter. I know many of us do, and even the former members, the other 5 members that have resigned, I know they put their heart and soul into this committee. And I think they just kind of felt that we didn't get really a lot from the Board of Selectmen. So I think tonight would be kind of a come to Jesus meeting. Let's decide what we want to do. Tell us what you want. And I'm open for criticisms. Believe me, I'm sure there's plenty to go around. But give us a heading check of what you want to do. And if you want us to dissolve this group, we're willing to do that as well, because we're all pretty busy people. And we want to do it in the best interest of this town. But I have to say, I'm very disappointed. I mean, almost in the sense where, do we really even have any issues in town? Because we have 50-something ideas, and we really haven't implemented any that I know of. But it is nice. I would love to take credit for the idea regarding the polling, but I have to give that over to Stand for Children and Enru. Those folks are the ones that really came up with that idea, and we told them that we would just push it for them. And it came up, I think, over a year ago, I remember, even longer than that. And it's just sad that it's taken almost 18 months, 2 years for that idea to actually come to fruition. So I'm not trying to throw stones, I'm just trying to give you a setting for, we hear there's an urgency, we have a wonderful committee working really hard, but there's no implementation. Well, I think I've done enough talking, and I'd love to have an exchange.
Well, I'll be in, because I'm sort of in the middle here. And I see the frustration on part of the members of the FACT, but sitting on this board, I can see what FACT has brought to this board has allowed us to do things, or start to do things that FACT members can't see. Most of what the FACT has done has been related to collective bargaining. So it's difficult for us to, as a board, to convey that to you, because it is collective bargaining issues. But there are several points raised by the fact that are being pushed and proposed by the town administrator and the members of the board that are on essentially negotiating teams with the various unions. So, and Michael, you know, most of what we've done, in fact, has been related to contracts.
We've done a lot of work there.
So, I think publicly it's difficult to tell the members of FACT what actually is being done with the ideas that have been brought forward. And unfortunately, some members of FACT took offense to how split tax rate issue was thrown back at them, but I don't think because of that one issue being defeated should discourage people from continuing to be actively involved. Personally, I think the fact is and can continue to be a valuable asset to this board.